You ever notice how a class reunion is called a reunion, but half the people there are not really trying to reconnect? They are trying to reintroduce themselves, not as the shy kid from math class, not as the awkward teenager with bad hair, and not as the person nobody noticed. They are walking in with one message: look at me now. Class reunions are not just about memories. They are about comparison, status, and proving something to people you may not have spoken to in 10, 20, or even 30 years. The real question is, why do we care so much about impressing people from a chapter of life we already closed? The truth is, the reunion starts long before people arrive at the venue. It begins weeks earlier when people start thinking about what to wear, how they look, what they should say, and whether their life seems successful enough. Some people buy a new outfit, get a haircut, start working out, or suddenly become more active on social media. Deep down, they know the reunion is not just a party, it is a performance. At a normal gathering, people ask, "How have you been?" But at a class reunion, that question secretly means, "So, what did you become?" That is why the answers are rarely simple. People do not just say, "I'm doing okay." Instead, they talk about their job, their house, their spouse, their kids, their business, their vacations, or how busy and important their life has become. Of course, maybe all of those things are true. But the way they are presented can feel less like a conversation and more like a resume with a drink in hand. People are smiling, laughing, and pretending not to compare themselves to each other. But quietly, many of them are comparing everything. What makes it even more interesting is that the people who brag the most are not always the most confident. Sometimes they are the ones who still feel like they have something to prove. Maybe they were ignored in school. Maybe they were bullied. Maybe they were underestimated. Maybe someone made them feel small. So when they return successful, they want people to notice. They want the old version of themselves to be avenged. There is something very human about that. Everyone wants to feel seen. Everyone wants proof that they have grown. Everyone wants someone to say, "Wow, you really made it." But there is also something sad about spending years trying to impress people who may have stopped thinking about you a long time ago. Then there are the quiet people at the reunion. They do not say much. They do not force their achievements into every conversation. They do not need everyone to know how much money they make, what car they drive, or how successful they are. They simply listen, smile, and ask real questions. Somehow they often seem more successful than the loudest person in the room. That is because real confidence does not need a microphone. Real happiness does not have to prove itself. Real success usually does not walk around begging to be noticed. Some people come to class reunions to reconnect, while others come to be validated. The reason reunions feel so strange is because everyone started from the same place. Same school, same teachers, same hallways, same cafeteria, and maybe even the same dreams. But years later, everyone's life looks completely different. One person became rich, one person got divorced, one person moved away, one person never left town, one person looks happy. Another person is only pretending. That is when people begin to measure themselves. They wonder if they did enough, if they are behind, if others think they failed, or if they look like they made it. Reunions can feel emotional because they place everyone's life side by side, almost like a scoreboard. Even when no one says it out loud, the comparison is still there. Social media has made class reunions even stranger. Before the reunion even happens, people already know who got married, who had kids, who started a business, who gained weight, who lost weight, and who seems successful online. By the time people meet in person, they are not discovering each other's lives. They are checking whether the real version matches the online version. That may be the most uncomfortable part. Some people do not show up as themselves. They show up as the version of themselves they created for the world to see. They show up as their profile picture, their job title, their vacation photos, and their carefully edited success story. People often say they want to catch up, but most of the time, catching up just means exchanging life summaries: job, marriage, kids, house, location, money, health, and vacations. It becomes a quick report of how adulthood turned out. Everyone gets a few minutes to prove they survived life, and then the conversation moves on. But real catching up is much deeper than that. Real catching up sounds like, what have you been through? What changed you? What did life teach you? Are you actually happy? And what do you miss about who you used to be? But most people do not ask those questions because they are too honest for a room full of people trying to look successful. So why do people really go to class reunions? Some go for nostalgia, some go out of curiosity, some go to see old friends. Some go because they feel lonely. Some go because they want closure. But some people go for one simple reason. They want to be seen differently. They want to walk into a room full of old memories and rewrite their story. They want people to forget who they were and notice who they became. In a way, that is understandable. We all want to feel like we changed. We all want proof that life did not defeat us. We all want someone to recognize our growth. But the danger comes when we need approval from people who were never part of our real journey. The people at a reunion may know your old nickname, your old hairstyle, or your old mistakes, but they may not know the struggles you survived, the pain you carried, or the private battles you fought to become who you are today. Maybe the truth is that class reunions are not completely fake, but they do reveal something real. They reveal who still needs validation. They reveal who is comfortable with themselves. They reveal who is performing happiness. And they reveal who actually found peace. Life is not about convincing old classmates that you made it. Life is about knowing quietly that you are okay. Maybe the most powerful thing you can do at a reunion is not brag, compete, or prove anything. Maybe the most powerful thing you can do is simply show up as yourself. Because the people who truly won in life do not need the whole room to know it. They already know. So the next time someone invites you to a class reunion, ask yourself one question. Am I going to reconnect or am I going to be recognized? Because there is a difference. And that difference says a lot.